Less than 1 week after a devastating shooting killed 3 officers in Floyd County, law enforcement officials band together to help the community. And the nation's capital celebrates the United States' 246th birthday.
More showers and storms appear to be in the forecast as we head into the next couple of days. Details on if any could be strong to severe coming up right now at 5:30.
Dedicated to Southern and Eastern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 5:30.
Good evening, I'm Keaton Hall. Well, it's been emotionally dry but quite hot 4th of July for many of us, but we do have some changes on the way, and that could include some stormy weather. Meteorologist Evan Hatter has the latest as we begin our severe weather alert day coverage. Evan.
Well, it is another warm and muggy evening around the mountains. We've seen plenty of hot and humid weather. And we're also getting in, at least a few of us, on the potential for a couple of storms. Outside right now from our camera at UVA Wise, you see we've got some dark clouds overhead. They're dealing with a couple of showers moving through Wise County right now, right on top of the city of Norton as well. Downtown Hazard, not far from downtown Hazard anyway, out front of WYMT. We've got that hazy, hot and humid combo of that hazy sunshine and just a few fair weather clouds developing this afternoon as we head into this evening. Temperatures, they're hot around the region, upper 80s and low 90s. How about 93 apiece? Somerset and Monticello, and look out toward Louisville. They are at 95 this afternoon. So a very hot one indeed. Pinpoint Doppler, we're mostly dry, but a couple of downpours have been getting going across portions of the southwestern portion of the region as you head towards Lake Cumberland. You see one of those storms right now, or at least a downpour bubbling up just to the south and east of Monticello and portions of Wayne County. And we've been watching a couple of those downpours bubbling up as we head towards southwest Virginia. So far, so good for us tonight. So if you do have any fireworks celebrations, we are looking okay, but look off to the north and west. It's that complex of storms that we're going to have to keep an eye on just south of the Chicago area. That's going to be potentially moving in as we head towards tomorrow. So keep that WYMT weather app handy. As you look, our forecast has partly cloudy skies through the night. We'll increase those rain chances, though, as we head further and further into our July the 5th on our Tuesday. And I'll have the very latest on the potential for strong to severe storms coming up in just a little bit. Keaton?
Thanks, Evan. Law enforcement agencies from across the state and region are uniting to provide police in Floyd County with the necessary equipment following Thursday night shooting. WYMT's Chandler Wilcox detail how that support has impacted the community.
Overwhelming amounts of damage turned into a gaining surplus.
The overwhelming amount of support is just humbling, I tell you that.
Support felt from all across the region.
Our surrounding counties just were unbelievable. The sheriffs were and other police agencies, Pikeville Police, Paintsville Police, Johnson County Sheriff, Knott County Sheriff, and they did our work for us while we were, taking care of what was happening.
Surrounding police forces stepped in immediately Thursday night and continue to show up now. Floyd County Sheriff's Office lost 7 vehicles after the shooting, and Hunt says they will at most get 2 back. Now, the names of Jefferson, Washington, and more can be seen roaming the streets of Floyd County.
Sheriffs from Jefferson County sent me 3 cars. Other sheriffs have called and said, we've got cars ready. When you need cars, we got you 1 or 2.
It is a part of a motto that police have, helping each other out in hard times.
If we have it and you need it, you got it.
And that is because when one goes down, all fall with them.
It leaves a void, and when you hear 2 or 3 deputies at one time.
Funeral processions for the 3 fallen officers and K-9 Officer Drago will all be held this week. In Floyd County, Chandler Wilcox, WYMT Mountain News.
Sheriff Hunt says he hopes to create legislation that would allow sheriff's departments from all over the area to immediately work in their county without having to give permission. As Kentucky continues to mourn the loss of the officers killed last week in Floyd County, mass shootings continue across the country. At least 6 people were killed and 24 have been taken to the hospital after a shooting sent people running for safety during the Highland Park, Illinois, July 4th parade today. Highland Park police said they're still searching for the shooter and are urging people in the area to shelter in place. Evidence of a firearm has been recovered. One witness said the shooter was on the roof of a business and the gunshots went on for several minutes. Police and ambulances from several jurisdictions swarmed the area with several officers carrying rifles. This 4th of July will find many Americans at the grill or headed to the beach. It's a chance to catch our breath as a country after 2 very intense weeks of news. Major Supreme Court decisions and historic votes in Congress have highlighted political divisions, but perhaps they have also provided one of the most vivid examples of how the American system is designed to work.
The Constitution lays out 3 co-equal branches of government. One to make the laws, another to sign them, command the military, and conduct foreign policy, and the last to determine what laws are constitutional.
We're marking 40 years since Spain joined NATO.
In the past week, the president has performed his duty as the leader of America's affairs overseas.
We are ready to face the threats of Russian aggression because, quite frankly, there's no choice.
But there's little a president alone can do to bring down prices, change laws, or protect individual rights.
We are fighting for women's rights. We are fighting for women's rights.
This president, a former senator, knows better than most that Congress is necessary to achieve broader change.
The motion is adopted.
That's what made passage of bipartisan gun legislation so remarkable.
The motion to concur with an amendment is agreed to.
Lawmakers, who often can't agree on basic facts, rallied together to finally do something about mass shootings.
I think it's a significant step in the right direction.
It's not everything a majority of Americans want, but supporters believe it helps address a growing concern.
What are we here for? If not to do something, something meaningful, something real, something together to end this carnage.
As Congress made new laws, it's also used its oversight powers to investigate events surrounding the deadly January 6th attack.
We were watching the Capitol building get defaced over a lie.
The details disturb and infuriate us for different reasons. But don't forget, few other systems of government allow for such a public examination. Across from the Capitol, 9 Supreme Court justices have rendered judgment on several of the country's most controversial matters.
The justices ruled 6-3 that a gun law in New York State violates the Second Amendment.
Roe versus Wade is history. The Supreme Court sided with religious freedom.
The decisions once again divide us and revive questions about the role of the judiciary. But they're a vivid reminder that change in America takes time. It took more than 25 years for Congress to pass new gun laws, amid years of patient, often painful activism by survivors and victims.
Too many children are dying.
And Americans opposed to federal abortion protections have spent 5 decades fighting to end them. It reminds this reporter of something actor Michael Douglas said in The American President.
America isn't easy. America is advanced citizenship. You've got to want it bad.
If you like even some of the change made in recent days, maybe it's the result of your own activism and resolve. If you're upset by what's happening, well, America is advanced citizenship. You can get up and go do something about it. Ed O'Keefe, CBS News.
Those 3 branches are in action once again as some lawmakers are pushing legislation that's creating fireworks over the government buying flags made outside the USA. Lawmakers from both sides of the aisle are coming together over American-made American flags. One senator said, quote, when taxpayer dollars are involved in the work should be done in the United States, end quote. And one representative said that it doesn't make any sense that only 50% of a flag has to be made in America. Despite legislators offering bipartisan support for the bill, Colin Grabow from the Cato Institute criticizes the legislation.
I think that there's some superficial appeal here, but if you dig a little bit deeper, you'll see that it's really misguided. Flags are going to cost more. They cost more. That means more expenditures by the government. That means either higher taxes or they'll have to cut spending for some other place to produce these flags.
Lawmakers have not yet voted on the legislation. Even though one of the founding fathers devoted his life to America, he spent a large part of it in London. Benjamin Franklin spent time across the pond acting as an agent for Pennsylvania. Much of the original building that Franklin would have known back in London in the 1700s remains, from the floorboards and walls to the oak staircase. The founding father spent nearly 16 years at the home.
Anyone who was anyone came to this house to pay their respects and talk with Franklin.
Benjamin Franklin was the only founding father to sign all 4 of the key documents establishing the United States, including the Declaration of Independence, Treaty of Alliance with France, the Treaty of Paris, which ended the Revolutionary War, and the Constitution. Patriotism was on display in the nation's capital this Independence Day, with crowds appearing close to pre-pandemic levels. Federal Park Service officials say they prepared for hundreds of thousands of visitors to Washington, D.C. At the White House, President Biden is hosting military families for a barbecue. Natalie Brand has more from the Capitol.
Parades with packed sidewalks signaled a bustling return to normal this 4th of July. In Boston, the USS Constitution fired a 21-gun salute, while some in Tampa rallied against recent Supreme Court decisions.
There's different ways you celebrate independence.
Here in Washington, families reflected on the meaning of the day, 246 years after the adoption of the Declaration of Independence.
It's nice to see people coming back together around similar values, around democracy.
My father was in the military, and he's since passed away. So for me, this is more towards like veterans and military.
It's really interesting to see all the patriotism and everything is beautiful here.
The National Independence Day Parade returned after a 2-year absence. People here are from all over. For some, it's their first big trip since the pandemic.
It's exciting to do something different and come to D.C. for the first time.
President Biden returned from his weekend at Camp David to host a 4th of July barbecue with military families at the White House. In Twitter messages, the president praised the sacrifices of our nation's service members and said our best days lie ahead. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Washington.
The Independence Day celebration in Washington will end later tonight with a fireworks display. Meanwhile, Vice President Kamala Harris is spending the 4th of July back in her state of California. Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, what is the science behind the fireworks' colorful explosion?
Plus, watching more showers and storms get ready to push into the area, and some of them could be on the strong side. Latest on that coming up next.
WYMT News app offers alerts on